Marilyn pushed open the cafe door, the little bell overhead jingling like an ominous prelude to what Amber was already dreading. Her mother, in her signature red MAGA hat, strode in like she was campaigning for local office. Amber followed, her shoulders hunched, wishing she could dissolve into the floor. The cafe, cozy and bustling with morning chatter, seemed to fall quieter the moment Marilyn entered. Or maybe that was just Amber's heightened sense of doom kicking in. At a table near the window, Amber's activist friends were mid-latte and mid-discussion about systemic change. That was until one of them spotted the hat. The chatter froze. Chloe, the self-appointed spokesperson of their group, leaned back, folded her arms, and loudly muttered, "Can you believe someone still wears that?" Her tone oozed disdain. Her eyes locked on Marilyn, as if she'd walked in holding a burning Confederate flag. Amber's face turned crimson faster than a stoplight. "Mom," she hissed under her breath, tugging at Marilyn's sleeve. "People are staring. Just take it off." Marilyn, ever composed, glanced at her daughter with a raised eyebrow. "It's just a hat, Amber. If people are staring, that's their problem, not mine." Amber groaned, slumping into her seat while Marilyn marched to the counter to order her coffee. The hat bobbed confidently above the crowd, as if it were its own entity. Amber's friends, meanwhile, exchanged conspiratorial glances. Chloe, never one to let an opportunity pass, stood and sauntered over to Marilyn, just as she picked up her latte. "Nice hat," Chloe said with a saccharine smile that could have melted plastic. "A bold choice, considering everything it stands for." Marilyn turned to face her, unbothered, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to Chloe's passive-aggressive fire. "Bold. Thank you. I like to think so too." Amber, watching from the table, wanted to crawl under it. Chloe, caught off guard by the lack of reaction, pressed on. "You know, some of us find that hat offensive. It's practically a symbol of hate." Marilyn took a sip of her coffee, then smiled sweetly. "Honey, it's a symbol of me enjoying my morning, but I can see how that might be threatening to some." The cafe fell into an awkward silence. Someone coughed. A barista behind the counter muttered, "Yikes." Chloe, momentarily stunned, returned to her seat, seething. Amber buried her face in her hands, torn between loyalty to her mother and the undeniable horror of her social reputation imploding. Marilyn, however, simply stirred her latte and smiled to herself. Amber slammed the door behind her, her protest sign still clutched tightly in one hand, the bold letters reading, "Equality Now," slightly smeared from the rain. Her cheeks were flushed, her hair a mess, and frustration radiated from her like steam off asphalt. She dropped the sign against the wall with a loud thunk, startling the family cat, who darted under the couch for cover. In the kitchen, Marilyn sat at the table, her MAGA hat perfectly perched on her head like a crown. She sipped her coffee, the mug emblazoned with, "Don't tread on me." As Amber stormed past, Marilyn raised an eyebrow and set her mug down with deliberate slowness. "Tough day fighting the good fight, huh?" she said, her voice laced with that particular mix of sarcasm and curiosity only a parent can perfect. Amber froze mid-step, spun around, and shot her mother a glare that could have melted steel. "At least I'm doing something that matters," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Not hiding behind a slogan on a hat." Marilyn leaned back in her chair, unfazed. "Oh, sweetie, it's not hiding if you're wearing it loud and proud." She took another sip of coffee, unbothered, while Amber's hands balled into fists. The argument escalated like a wildfire. Marilyn, now on her feet, passionately defended her beliefs, waving her mug for emphasis. "You think I support Trump for fun? It's about freedom, hard work, loyalty, values this country was built on," Amber countered, her voice rising with every word. "Values? Like ignoring marginalized communities? Do you even hear yourself? Do you know what his policies have done to people?" Her protest sign, still leaning against the wall, seemed to nod in agreement. The shouting match reverberated through the house. The cat, still cowering under the couch, let out a plaintive meow as if to say, "Can't we all just get along?" Then came the bombshells. Marilyn, pointing a triumphant finger, revealed, Well, since we're being honest, I've been donating to the local conservative campaign. Someone's got to keep this town on the right track. Amber's jaw dropped. Wait, you mean the same campaign I've been rallying against? I've been organizing protests to stop them. The realization hit them both like a freight train. Marilyn's smug grin faltered, while Amber's fury turned into disbelief. They stared at each other, both at a loss for words for the first time that evening. Finally, Marilyn broke the silence, shaking her head with a smirk. Well, isn't this a hallmark moment? Mother and daughter, united in tearing each other's causes apart. Amber groaned, throwing her hands up. This is insane. You know that, right? Marilyn chuckled, raising her mug in mock toast. Insane or just democracy in action? You decide. Amber stormed off upstairs, slamming her door again for good measure. Marilyn sighed, shaking her head. Kids these days, she muttered, adjusting her hat. The cat emerged cautiously, as if sensing the ceasefire. The house fell into an uneasy quiet, but the battle lines were clearer than ever. The town hall buzzed with nervous energy, the kind of atmosphere where everyone knew something controversial was bound to happen. Marilyn sat in the third row, her red MAGA hat a beacon of defiance. She adjusted it confidently as the conservative candidate took the stage, launching into his speech about preserving the values that built this great nation. Half the room erupted into applause, while the other half either groaned or rolled their eyes. Amber, standing in the back, crossed her arms, her expression a mix of frustration and disbelief. When the moderator opened the floor for questions, Marilyn's hand shot up like a rocket. Yes, you, the moderator said, nodding toward her. Marilyn stood, her voice firm and polished, clearly rehearsed. As a proud supporter of traditional values, I want to commend you for standing strong against the liberal agenda, trying to tear this country apart. Cheers erupted from her side of the room, while Amber buried her face in her hands. Your policies protect hard-working families and the freedoms this country was founded on. Don't let the noise from the other side distract you. Amber couldn't take it anymore. She pushed through the crowd, her voice cutting through the clamor like a knife. Noise from the other side? You mean people fighting for basic human rights, Mom? The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the dramatic duo now standing at opposing ends of the aisle. Marilyn, unflinching, tilted her chin. Amber, this isn't the time. No, it is, Amber shot back. You're praising policies that marginalize entire communities. Do you even listen to yourself? The moderator attempted to interject, but it was too late. The clash had become the event of the night. Amber laid out her case with facts and a passionate plea for empathy, her words drawing murmurs of agreement from one half of the audience. Marilyn countered with unwavering confidence, weaving her points with humor that made her side chuckle and Amber simmer with rage. Phones captured every second, and by the time the meeting ended, the damage was done. Clips of their heated exchange hit social media like wildfire. One headline read, MAGA Mom versus Activist Daughter, the political divide at home. Marilyn's supporters praised her for standing her ground, calling her a hero for not backing down. Amber, meanwhile, became a rising star among activists, celebrated for her courage and eloquence. Yet, as the accolades poured in from strangers, the distance between mother and daughter grew insurmountable. That night, Marilyn sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through the flood of comments on her phone. Across town, Amber did the same, but neither reached out. The screen-lit silence between them spoke volumes, louder than any applause. Weeks pass, and the silence between Marilyn and Amber is deafening. The two barely speak, their once vibrant relationship reduced to curt nods and avoidance. Both are privately haunted by their last confrontation, yet neither is willing to make the first move toward reconciliation. One evening, Marilyn stumbles upon a live stream of Amber giving a keynote speech at a human rights conference. Amber's words are powerful, filled with stories of courage and resilience. For the first time, Marilyn sees her daughter not as an opponent, but as someone deeply committed to her beliefs. At the same time, Amber notices a comment in the live chat. Her mom is that MAGA lady from the town hall. What a family mess. It stings, reminding her of the love and respect she once felt for her mother. The story ends on an ambiguous note. Marilyn and Amber exchange texts, tentative and cautious, but the wounds of their ideological battle remain raw. The final scene shows both women sitting alone in their respective spaces, scrolling through photos of happier times together. The bond isn't repaired, but there's a flicker of hope that maybe, someday, they'll find common ground.